This is what a magnetic field looks like, and you lived in the middle of it. And if you can really grasp this, you can understand why they would hide this. It would be a very different story if people really knew where they lived. So here's the block wall of a magnet I told you about. Again, this has to exist in all magnetic fields. The globe can't even answer where this would be. Harvard will tell you they can't even explain the magnetic field or where it emanates from or what's going on at the core, exactly how it works or anything about it. This is 2022 billions of dollars. The world's universities, they can't tell you how it works. Of course, it works perfectly, as I just showed you. It works perfectly on a flat Earth. You live right through the middle of the magnetic field. It makes perfect sense in physics. Doesn't make any sense on a ball, but here's a pretty cartoon, so you have to believe it. So this is where we're going to get back into what's in the center. This is an ancient Vedic text or depiction, and it shows you basically pretty accurate ether physics. Ironically, now I did a whole presentation on the ether, so I'm not going to do that again. And I encourage you to check it out. I did at Flattoberfest, and I've done a few on my channel, but hiding the ether seems to have been one of the biggest parts of the lie, because the implications are there's a metaphysical realm beyond you. Everything's interconnected. Energy comes to and fro. You have all kinds of capabilities. There's literally an energy source all around you. So why would they tell you that? I mean, of course they wouldn't tell you that, because then you wouldn't have utility bills and be dependent upon electrical grids and all this different stuff. So anyway, this is an ancient Vedic text. It shows you the mountain in the middle. It shows the two types of movement. You have centrifugal divergence, centripetal convergence. These are the two aspects superimposed on top of each other within a magnetic field. I apologize, it will be kind of fast, so I want to fit it all in. But this is like the primary conjugate geometric expression of magnetism. That just means the geometry is basically the inverse of one another. It's the other side to the coin. There are two types of motions. You have a donut, you draw through the center of it. That would be like the hyperboloid inside it, and you have the toroid as the donut on the outside. And there are two types of motions within this. Now, this was known for thousands of years. How come when I'm saying it, it doesn't make any sense to you right now? And you're like, I need to rewind it. I don't get it. Well, that's one of the tricks. You should have learned about this when you were in second grade. It should make sense, and you should look at it in the form of geometry. And they knew about this a long time ago. So they show the two types of movements. They have the tower in the middle, and they have the turtle at the bottom. That represents time. So whenever you hear like, oh, you flat earthers think you live on the back of a turtle. Well, actually, the ancient people used the turtle to represent time. And of course, ironically, you can actually look at the back of the shell of a turtle and it matches the calendar perfectly. You can use a turtle for a calendar. That's what this represents. This is actually high-level ether physics in a depiction from the Vedas, the Vedic representation many, many years ago. Probably a coincidence. So here is a place in Thailand, and it tells you right here about Sumeru Mountain. That's where you get Mount Meru. Now, this goes back in all kinds of different ancient civilizations. So it is the name of the summit, and it seems to have great importance. And everyone's looking at the outside. What's at the outside? Let's go to the south, blah, 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 blah. Admiral Byrd. But no one wants to talk about what's in the middle. You're like, oh, you must assume probably that we know what's in the middle. We don't, actually. You can't privately explore the middle either. And that should not make sense to you. Oh, we don't have the infrastructure to save you. It's not safe. You'll be intercepted by military, Russia, etc. That's why no, Russia's not the good guy. Ukraine's not the good guy. They're all in a club, and you weren't invited. So let's get more into it. Here are some ancient depictions of the Earth with the Mount Meru in the center. You'll see that it has the center point there. And then, of course, this has the four corners and the square. So take note of the square and the circle. I encourage everyone that maybe missed it. You definitely want to check out Marty Leeds. It's crazy the way things work, synchronicities, because he just covered the circle and the square, and it fits in perfectly with the presentation that I was going to do. I don't consider that to be a coincidence. I definitely encourage you to look at it. So as you see, you have the square outside, the corners, and the circle within. The scriptures say this. Many ancient texts say this. And of course, if you've looked into ancient civilizations at all, you found out they lied to you about how that they were super primitive and they didn't know what they were doing or understand anything. Well, they had at least had international communication and transportation. And they're like, there's a mummy found with cocaine from South America. There are the same architecture across the whole world. They have the same story scattered out across the whole world. And this is impossible based on the narrative they told us. We can't even replicate some of the stuff they built back then to this day, which goes to show you they actually knew a lot more than you've been told. Now, of course, History Channel wants to come in with the ancient aliens and try to absorb it and tell you that aliens came and all this nonsense, because people are starting to see through the lie, similar to how they're getting rid of evolution because people are stopping. They really aren't following for evolution anymore. So they're going to replace it with simulation theory, where they acknowledge design, but they do not acknowledge the designer or the personable nature of the creator and how it's actually a loving force that created you. Rather, you're a robot in a game and no one cares. So here are some more ancient depictions where you always have the central point being depicted as something in and of itself. If you look in the middle there, you'll see like the black hole. We'll get into that in a second. Now there's a hole in most of these depictions, as there is a mountain and or a tree in the center of almost all these ancient depictions. And like I said, these people knew a lot more than you may think that they do. They could accurately denote physics, which still cannot be done today by a majority of the academic world, as they are particle physicists, and just ignore the fact that they literally can't explain most of the phenomena. That would be a whole other presentation as well. So here's another ancient depiction where you have the mountain in the middle. The story goes, of course, there is a magnetic mountain in the center called Mount Meru, and that it hovers over the water, and that there is waters falling down into this like vortex or portal type of whirlwind in the water, and that it breaks off into rivers with continents around it. And many ancient civilizations said this. So let's see if it makes any sense. Here's some more depictions throughout the world with the mountain in the middle. You got more of the mountain in the middle here. You got it's referring to it as Asgard. It's all over the world. This is actually from Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages. He was some argue 33rd degree Mason. You actually can't tell for sure when someone's 33rd. You have to be elected and voted in for that. Rarely is it publicly announced that they're 33rd, but at the least 32nd degree Mason. He has all kinds of speeches and presentations, and his book has the mountain in the middle with the tree coming out of it. Now this is a big piece of it. Now the mountain's there, and there's also a depiction of a tree going up. There's a bunch of arguments as to whether or not this is physically real or symbolic, or is this talking about you have two magnets that would create basically a vortex in the middle that would go up, and it's just talking about that. I think that there is literally something there, as something has to sustain the magnetic field, and if even a bit of this is true, you can imagine why looking at the south a lot maybe is the deception. Maybe that's the trick, right? So anyway, this Mason maybe knew something, but just so you guys know, just because someone's a Mason or they've been in the Mason Brotherhood, they don't know all the secrets of the world. They just get access to libraries. Most of them don't even take advantage of it, and you don't even get a lot of the answers till you're 33rd. And again, you have to be voted in to get to the 33rd degree. So it's kind of like, are all the teachers in on the lie about the Earth? No. Same thing with Masons. Most of them don't know anything. Okay, so you have more ancient depictions of this mountain or tower in the middle of the Earth. Now, why did all these people, this is like Sumeria in the middle, the white picture in the middle. Why did all these ancient civilizations claim that there was something in the middle? And of course, this looks very close to like what a footstool would look like. The scriptures do in fact say that the creator uses the earth as a footstool. And so it's very interesting.
Extreme narrative of why the sun sets is because we're on a ball, right? We are falling backwards, eastward, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, on average, every other place, 700 miles per hour in the America, other places like that, you know what I'm saying? You get the point. We're falling backwards eastward. That's why the sun sets. It's then obfuscated by the curvature of the earth. They're claiming all these oceans are curving over a ball, quadrillions of gallons of water. That's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to get at today. This is what happens. So you can't see the sun anymore, apparently, because the sun goes down here and then it fall backwards until we can see it again, okay? You get what I'm getting at. Then, can somebody explain why the sun doesn't continue to set in this video and why it seems to just kind of disappear into the soup of the atmosphere? Because the atmosphere is actually opaque and the sun eventually gets to a point where it can't push through anymore. seriously, I've been seeing a lot of people getting hung up on the fact that the sun sets, dude. We can't see it anymore. That doesn't work on a flat earth model. We should be able to see it forever. No, again, study the word opaque in general. Just try to understand it. Light doesn't travel forever. The sun simply moves away from the viewer into the vanishing point, creating the illusion that it is moving down, setting/rising. Like these light posts, for example. As they get farther away, they're all the same size. They'll eventually converge with the horizon. If they kept going, you wouldn't be able to see all of them forever. This is just how perspective works on level surfaces. The sky ramps down, the ground ramps up to create a vanishing point. And you can zoom and expand this and see more. Thank heavens I've been accumulating all of these photos to prove that the Earth is a level surface over this time, for example. But dude, the sun is local and it's getting farther away. It would get smaller. Like, change size. Oh, that's weird. Great advice right here. Research flat Earth. It's me or these guys. It's me or these guys. There's no other choice. Yeah. You see that? That's duct tape. Subsonic, supersonic, Masonic. You may ask, why is this guy bringing that up? You don't remember this? Seriously, something's going on here, guys. Share this video. Get it out to people. I'm shadow banned right now. I don't even hit the For You page anymore, but check out my podcast. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, check out my link. Be aware, flat earthers love to show the Guinness World Record for the farthest photo ever taken. 273.4 miles. That's a missing 9.4 miles between these two observer points. Just one more quick example. I've got more, but I'm just going to do two because I've shown plenty before. 190 miles between these 2 points, and we're still seeing basically the whole mountain. Just to put this in perspective, if the Earth is curving at a radius of 3,963 miles and has a circumference of 24,901 miles, there has to be constant curve, or this shape just doesn't make sense. So it has to be 8 inches per mile squared or something of the nature, right? Which leads me right into my next point. Have you heard this before?
8 inches per mile squared is not a valid way to measure Earth's curvature. If you understood math, you would immediately see that this squared on miles is totally out of place. That's because this is a parabolic approximation. This is for doing calculations with a parabola.
Our friend Dave here goes on to explain that this approximation was made by Samuel Robotham, a flat earther. He's not wrong. This was made by Samuel Robotham. Great guy, by the way. Great guy. Dave and every other glober that said this, it's not wrong. But allow me to show you this video of this guy taking the time out of his day to compare mathematically all of the curvature models and see how different they are, and you might be surprised.
I've got the distances in miles because the equation is in inches and miles. So I'll have the distances in miles here, and all of the drop distances I have written in feet. Don't get confused. Even though it says inches here, inches are going to get pretty big as we go out into the distance, so I chose to show it in feet. If you're 1 mile away, the 8 inches per mile squared will give you 8 inches. And that comes out to 2/3 of a foot. Let's go nuts. Let's just go crazy. Let's take it out to 1,000 miles. At 1,000 miles, here's our estimate based on 8 inches per mile squared. And here are our actual values, depending on how we sliced it. I think you'll find that's still pretty decent. So here is a Google spreadsheet, and I will make this publicly available to anybody who wants to look at it. I'll put it down in the description.
Just to show you again. Just compare them side to side. Screenshot if you'd like. And again, the errors, 0.3% difference between them. You're not seeing curvature to the Earth because, again, these oceans, quadrillions of gallons of water, are not convexing to the rotundity of a ball. The physics of water always lays level at the surface.